Alright, so, updates. I sent the email to my counselor on Thursday, so Thursday evening-ish, with my schedule, at least how it is right now, because music class is waitlisted. I may or may not have said that there are 15 on the wait list. My rank on that wait list was 15 in June. Now it went down to 14. I don't know if somebody just dropped out, dropped the wait list, and then maybe someone else ended up registering, or what the hell happened, but we're still showing up the first day. So yeah, I sent my counselor my financial aid information. I sent him my schedule as of now, like how it is. Sent this to him on Thursday night, and I said, hey, can you please, like I said, I'm attaching this document and this document, basically what I said to you guys, the financial aid award letter and class schedule. And then I said, can you please authorize mobility training, because my classes are in different buildings that I have not been in yet. Because, like I may or may not have said last semester, he's like, didn't we provide mobility training the previous semester? And then I told him, you can look back at the rants recording for, like, a more detailed conversation on that. Or, like, not detailed conversation, detailed, like, explanation of the conversation that we had. And I remember at one point, though, in the conversation, I may or may not have said this when I was like, I thought I was supposed to get mobility training each semester, and he's like, where did you get this information? I did not want to put the mobility instructor on blast, and I said that it was a friend that told me, which, okay, that's partially true, but, I didn't want to say anything to where, because even the mobility instructor was saying, your classes are going to be in different buildings. I would think that him as a counselor and him having worked at the Center for the Blind, yeah, he may have taught assistive technology, but he might have probably seen some of the other classes too. I would have thought that he would have had some understanding of, okay, these are going to be, like, some blind people's needs, or he'd be okay with taking it up as on a case-by-case basis or something, but we'll see. I sent him the email, this time, laying it all out for him. No excuse for him to want to discuss this. And no response. No phone call. Nothing indicating to me, we will authorize it. Nothing indicating to me, we won't authorize it. So there's no yes, no. Like, there's no yes or no. It's Monday. There's still no yes or no. Which I find to be kind of dumb. I don't know what's gonna happen. I start on the 25th. Now to recap how last semester went. Last semester, my parents would take me to school and then pick me up, because, again, mobility was not authorized. The campus was under construction. A good part of the campus looked like it was torn up. We had issues trying to figure out, like, faster routes to my classes. That was a thing. And then we finally kind of got into a good enough rhythm. By almost the end of the semester, construction was, I think it either stopped temporarily or they were already done, but I think there were a couple new buildings that they put, was it one? Was it like a couple? I don't even remember. The point is, that was an issue. And then with, my mom going to pick me up, there were times where the art history professor, or, some of the other professors mainly the art history one, would address her with anything that she wanted to ask me. And that to me was like, okay, you see me in the class, you know that I'm being dropped off, can't you just ask me? Toward the end of the semester, she got a little better with that, but still was an issue. And I mean, it wasn't just like at the end of the semester, it wasn't as big an issue as it was before. We had group work. One of the girls, actually, instead of, like, she talked to me a little bit, but then she referred to my mom, and I was like, okay, you see me there. I wrote down one of our other group mates' emails. Like, what do you need to talk to her for? I mean, they were all nice. It's just things like that that are irksome that do not happen when mobility training gets authorized and when you can confidently navigate someplace on your own. These things do not happen. I at some point just got really checked out. Yes, there were times where I fell behind. Yes, there were times where I needed to ask for extensions. I survived the semester with like a 3 point something GPA in each of my classes. Squished by art history with a C, US history with a B, political science with an A. Let me see, what else? Dude, there might be more. I'm trying to think. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I survived. I'm gonna tell you about political science, though. Don't believe what anyone says about political science classes or any other classes like that being like indoctrination. I did not notice that. The way that our political science class worked, and I'm going to tell you this firsthand, we had assignments where we would listen to videos or read articles. Some of them were golden lines, for example. What was your takeaway from this article? You had to either put it in quotes. If it wasn't in, that there were times where you had to like quote the person writing the article, or you would just have to put a line from the article with no quotation marks. It depends, like on the instructions from the professor. There were documentaries we had to watch. We also had to fill in the blanks for some things, or again, write some takeaways, or whatever the prompt was. Submitted it on Canvas. We had our quizzes, we had our textbooks, and like the quizzes were, part of, like, it basically went with what we read in the textbook, and then the professor would like supplement that with like lectures. And then for the end, like the last 2-3-ish weeks, or 4, well, okay, let's say 3 because last week was finals, we had another textbook that we read, and then the final was 100 questions, and it was based on that. The finals were multiple choice, or true or false, or fill in the blank. Well, okay, the quizzes were true or false, and multiple choice questions. Final was a combination of true or false, multiple choice, and fill in the blanks. And I'm gonna elaborate a little more as to my thought process during political science, because one of the assignments that we had was listening to one of the hearings. I think it was like the first hearing on January 6th. The professor sent us a C-SPAN link, and then she said, for the assignment, you're going to fill in the blanks, and we have the time, you have the timestamps for the videos. or not the video, like you have the timestamp for the video, and you know, timestamps for the videos, or okay, sorry, you have the timestamps for the video, and you have to fill in like, oh, what word goes after, you know, or like what's supposed to go, like, you know, it was just like, you know, are you paying attention, you know, that kind of thing. There was no bias. She wasn't trying to get us to think a certain way. She would use current events to like explain certain concepts, but there was never a, oh, you have to think like this. And the reason that I'm putting this out there is because I have heard some MAGANUTS talking about how oh, you have classes where you have to write an essay on why socialism is good. That was never a thing, okay? I can tell you this firsthand as someone who is going to like a more like liberal college. That is not the case. So yeah, you just need to experience it for yourself. Don't just go full on, oh, this is true, because you're a crazy uncle or whoever told you. You need to go into this without fear when you start in college, and you need to experience these things firsthand. I'm going to tell you that as someone who was scared of what would happen when I started college. You need to not freak out as much, especially if you're part of a family that's like right-leaning. I really wanted to keep this apolitical, but I mean, I took political science, and I wanted to tell you firsthand my experience that it's not all that they make it out to be. Okay? It's not. I mean, I don't know how other colleges work. I just know the one that I'm going to right now, it's not like that. And it's a liberal college. You know, it's not like that. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. But in terms of how the semester went, in my U.S. history class, the professor mentioned that he had another student who was blind. I think it was like 1 or 2 semesters before me. I was scared because, mind you, this student's name sounded familiar, and I'm thinking, what can I do? Because I don't know how this student performed in that class. What can I do to outdo this person? What can I do to be the one that he's gonna brag about out of all the blind students that he's had? And I got sometimes consumed with that to the point where I think that my performance wasn't as good as it should have been, and there were times where I felt like I checked out. And I tried. I mean, I did not fail the class or anything, but I mean, there were times where I just got, like, really, you know, because this student, the name sounded familiar. He said the last name wrong, but I kind of knew who it was because the student and I had gone to elementary school together, and for those of you that know, you know. If you know, you know. Elementary school was shit. And, especially in this particular one that I was at for a couple years, one that's near like the San Diego Bay. We're just gonna call it that thing near the San Diego Bay. So when I was at that thing near the San Diego Bay, yeah, there was that one student, and it's like, okay, he had her. And it's like, okay, I know you were talking about, you know, oh, somebody would go pick her up, you know, but to not know how this person performed, But to know that, okay, this person's name sounds familiar and this is where you first met them and whatnot, and to not really have a clue what you can do, especially as someone whose wounds from just having a birth so beaten down, like being closed, like just recently closed, and you're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to like show that I'm better than so and so. And it's like, I'm trying not to do that again, because if there's one thing that I learned from going up to OCB is that does not work. That's not something you should be doing. It's not going to help you. And if there's also, I learned that too, just from counseling, like do your best, but at the same time, it's like that can go away, at least for 2 seconds, when you're panicking and you're thinking, okay, what can I do to outdo so-and-so? And yeah, that didn't help. But I lived, the mobility training wasn't authorized. I did take Uber over to the building where I would take my test, because test proctoring is in a building that is near one of the buildings where I had my English class in fall semester of 2024. So I was like, okay, this is easy. I can do it. And, those were the only times that I took Uber. Those were the only times that I really navigated the campus without anyone. And it was only a few times. So yeah. To my counselor, the only thing that I have to say to you is, please don't be an ass. I get that might be kind of hard to understand. Maybe. I don't know. Just help me out this semester. And then when I'm up in Sacramento, hopefully you did the arrangements for me to do the tour at Hal. And actually, you know what? We're going to call the guy tomorrow, because yeah. I swear to everything unholy, once I'm in Sacramento, I'm transferring counselors. Because I am going to be finishing school up there. And 4-year university also up in Northern California. I legit swear to everything unholy that I'm transferring counselors once I'm up there. Because clearly, this shit's not working. Oh, but you know what? He did say that once I'm up there and I go to college up there, that he would have to transfer me to someone who knows the resources and stuff. Yay. Can't wait, honestly. I cannot wait, because this bleach blonde bad bill butch body has driven me nuts. Okay, I don't know if he's a bleach blonde bad bill butch body. All I know is I felt like saying that. Bleach blonde bad bill butch body. Bleach blonde bad bill butch body.
Skip stop button.